when the world is zigging, start zagging, start differentiating, start separating from what everybody else is doing. I know that that takes really courageous, bold action. Though, let me tell you, you can always go back to what the masses are doing if you will. Or if you want to separate and you want to separate boldly, start moving in the ways that other people aren't. Now, again, that takes huge amounts of courage, though nothing in like this life is far too short. And it's like, just shoot the shot, pull the moonshot, send it. Like, again, and I say that from a place of I've, and again, it's knowing that everyone cares what people think. I won't say everyone because there's a lot of people that we serve that they do not give a single F about what people think anymore. And that's the thing. Like, that's the message. If you take anything away from this, go, where am I caring? And for what purpose am I caring for what other people think? Because if you care about what other people think, then let me tell you, your life is not yours. You are not living it. You are just living outside of it. You are not actually in the arena at all. And that is a trigger point for some or an activation for others.
Hi, amazing humans. Welcome to the show. I'm Flic Manning, and I think you're going to absolutely love our special guest today because she's kind of the embodiment of stepping into her own power and living authentically. And in this show, that is so much of what we're all about, trying to help navigate our way through to being the human being that we were always meant to be, the one that just needs to sometimes be excavated a little bit from the inside so that it becomes exactly who we are. And I know that my special guest today is going to help us to do exactly that. Nadine Muller is a 13 times best-selling author. She's also a multi-seven-figure CEO. She is a life and business coach. She's a former serving Australian military officer and registered nurse, and she now spends her time helping people to rise into their own power, to build with purpose, and to create legacy. You're going to love this episode. Nadine, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much, Flick. What a beautiful intro. I absolutely know you and I are going to have a beautiful conversation. I'm excited for the listeners and the watchers to just really anchor in, take notes. I'm big on that. I often say it's not what's taught, it's what's caught. So there'll be so many golden threads in this in the middle. So, and all the way through. So be sure to sit down and really intentionally listen and watch.
Couldn't agree with you more. I'm a big note taker myself. I know so many people from my audience are. So let's make sure we really take it all in while we've got access to the wonderful Nadine. Now,
Mhm.
Nadine, your story has been nothing short of awe-inspiring, if I really want to put kind of a label on it. But for those of my audience who might not be super familiar with your background, and I know you've got a very non-linear kind of road, but if you can kind of give our audience a bit of a feel for your backstory and what's brought you to being the person that you are today.
Yeah. Look, we would be here for whole episodes if I was to speak my full story, which is hence why I wrote a book so that people can really make sense of how people can become who they are today. And I'm really proud of the past versions and past stories and past traumas and experiences and exposures that have led me to here. Though my former life, yes, I was a registered nurse for over a decade and a half, and I also joined the military as a young 17-year-old, fresh young girl who decided, like much like her family, I've got a long, proud military history and lineage in my family. Decided to join the military at just 17, and then it was a very, very male-oriented organization, and now it's so beautifully, it's got the feminine, the masculine, and all things in between now, and it's beautiful. Though, then I have experienced through both my personal and professional life so many learning, so many deep, both again a treasure trove. I'm going to say of experiences that have led me to here. So if I was to even just rattle off a few. And again, I, for those listening and watching, allow yourself to resonate with some of these. Some of these may resonate, some of them may not. If you grew up in a domestic violent home, I see you. If there was alcohol abuse, if there was loving parents, though at the same time, and they were there all the time, and they truly, you knew that they loved you, that there was so much chaos in the home, I see you. If you grew up with absolute scarcity, you didn't have enough money, you'd always, the talk was the chat about, we can't afford this, we can't do that, you can't do that, no, you can't have that school uniform, you can't have those new shoes. We're going to have to figure something out. No, you can't go on that school trip. If scarcity and not being able to even, for, a lot of people here in Australia, especially, if you're used to, having fresh cow's milk and that was your story, beautiful. For some people, it was powdered milk, and that was me. If you're someone that grew up in a household that, you had to grow up really fast and you felt like you lost the part of your childhood where you could just be a kid. I see you. I had to fend for myself. I had to protect people around me, older than me. I had to become the mother and the daughter at the same time. I had to do a lot of things that most 5-year-olds would never have to do, and that I hope no child at 5 or 7 or 10 or 12 would ever have to do. Um, and, fast forward, I just always was someone that really created her life because she knew no one else would do it for her. And she took radical responsibility at a very young age, because if she didn't, no one else would. She had no one to rely on at the time, though she had a lot of people around her. And again, you may resonate with that. You may have a lot of people around you, though you still feel alone. Fast forward, again, as I mentioned, I joined the military and got to experience so many incredible things, experiences and exposures that I believe, unless you've joined, or at least unless you've been in that area of lines of work professionally, experiences that I'm really grateful for, though also shaped who I am today. And then, of course, as a registered nurse, I've seen people be born, beautiful, kids and babies be born from the emergency department. And I have seen more than most people ever will die. I have seen that personally. I've seen it professionally. I've seen it in the most horrific of circumstances. And I've seen the reality of this life. Moving forward, my marriage has been riddled with so much magic. And at the same time, I had a husband who had significant mental health challenges, to the point where the only thing keeping him alive in the end was me begging him and pleading him to stay. If you are experiencing that, or and when I say pleading him and begging him to stay, I want you to see that in a way that is beyond imagination. So if you've experienced, people around you wanting to, or really struggling with their mental health or addiction or anything like that, again, I see you, and it's a lot to carry. Pregnancies, I've had the absolute pleasure and privilege of my body creating new life, though the journey of creating life for me has never been easy in the past. I've experienced conditions through pregnancy that tested my physical and emotional and spiritual capacity in every breath of that word, through to a birth trauma that meant both myself and my son are very lucky to be alive today. So much so that it also birthed the part of me that had a spiritual awakening in that time as I knocked on the door of the next life. So that was beautiful too. I have so many other things, though I hope that that's painted a picture, and I hope that those listening and watching can resonate with some of those there. And perhaps that will beautifully paint how this journey gets to go for this rest of the conversation, Flic.
Thanks, Nadine. Beautiful summary of a life that's truly hard to summarize because it's just so expansive. You've gone through so many experiences, but what I really appreciate is the way that you frame your experiences as being beautiful, the way in which you have this outlook of these, after the experience is over, you are pulling light from it, you are pulling joy from it, and you are carrying that with you. And I think that in and of itself is almost a masterclass. So can you take us through a little bit about how you learned to do that, how to take these moments of trauma and pain and discomfort and growth and turn them into something that is light to carry and that you can share with other people?
Yes, Flic, what a great question. Here's the thing, guys, and even as you hear me and listen to me speak into some of those, I have so much gratitude for all of it. I have so much reverence, so deep respect for the journey. Because now when people look at me and where we are now, all of that shaped this, all of that created this, all of that led me to the person that now walks so boldly. And so it's not even like an unapologetic in a way of like, F the world this or F this. It's actually just so much certainty in knowing that the world is so uncertain, and what you experience, what you never know is right around the corner is the reality and the life perspective and the life altering perspective that I've had. And I suppose that if we can like come to that, I always say to people, hey, I wonder if we could just get to the end and if you could live with the end in mind. So as you can imagine, I've spoken about a fair bit. I almost went down like a life tapestry then, did a bit of a timeline. There were so many other things. A bit of a timeline. When you read the book, you'll get it. Though I always, throughout that whole thing, because I see the life circle of duality, and I have both personally and professionally, I can actually see how all of it, like in life, and again, it's a lot of our spiritual and faith-led practices as well, like spirit and intuition, that everything has the light and the dark, the moon, the sun, the rebirth, the death, the ego, the shadow. Like there's so much to everything. And I want to bring that into this conversation. So I could only see the absolute light on it because I had seen the absolute dark and depths. So it's really easy, when people say, and I know, it's really easy for people to be like, yeah, I get it. I've got to go through hard things though. Like, how does that even happen on the other side? One, it's for many people, when we arrive at a place of the rock bottom, and I talk about that a lot of people get to what they believe is a rock bottom. And then there's another place again, and it's called the rock bottom. And it emerges there. I call it hence why my book's called A Reason to Rise, the Phoenix Rising. Because in order to emerge from those, that part of you gets to die and gets to succumb to the pressures or the overwhelm or whatever else, though. And I spoke about this earlier, not to the point where it derails you or it lets you completely unravel. It's actually the building. And so for those of you listening right now, I wonder if you can introspect right now, all the things you might be in it right now. What source of strength or what actual part of you needs to be in complete cycle of this duality for you to go, I can see why this is presented. I know what's ready for me on the other side of this. I know how, and this is beyond mindset now. Yeah. So if you're listening to this and you're doing mindset work, I want you to know beyond mindset work, then we get out of here, we quieten here, and we come back into here. And notice what I just said. We come back into here. This isn't something new. You already know how. You were born into the world with this. No one taught you how to come into the world if you came out vaginally and there's so many beautiful things that happen that a baby innately does. No one taught you that. You just knew, right? So what I'm saying is a remembering, and all of these beautiful things that are happening in your life now or have happened that you've stowed away to never deal with, or to put in the backpack of bullshit that you're going to carry for the rest of your life. What if they are all there presenting? And if it's getting to the point where you're like, whoa, I am at rock's bottom, guess what that time is? It is the opening of like, whoa, I've got the pen. I've got a brand new book. I'm going to start writing. I'm here. Let us begin.
So Nadine, you walk a path where you really focus on what's called your Ikigai. So can you take our listeners through what that is and how you've worked your way to be actually living that for yourself?
Yeah. Many times before now, I thought I was living my purpose. At one point, when I was emergency nursing and saving lives was a thing, and supporting the community and people coming in and on some of their worst vulnerable days of their lives and leaving alive or leaving, being helped with the thing that they came in for, that was like, yeah, that's my purpose. And that's what I'm here to do. Then life continued to shape me and continued to provide me with experiences that I went, I can do more than what I can do in this emergency room. Mm. I can do more than what I am seeing come through these doors. When I look at my personal life, I went, wow, I can't experience all of that. Have transmuted it to the mindset and the heart set and the soul set, listen to those words, that I now have, and not help people discover how to do that. Maybe nursing isn't for me. Maybe this was merely a stepping stone to something else. And then again, for those listening, I had a career for a decade and a half in our Australian Armed Forces. I wanted to help humanity. I wanted to serve my country, which I did. I wanted to support and lead the community. And as an Australian, like a military officer, the skills that I learned in that was just incredible. Though again, I went, I'm here for much more. I'm here for a bigger purpose. I'm here for a bigger mission. Now, for those listening right now, you may be thinking and watching, you may be thinking, am I truly living out my purpose? And this is what I'm going to speak into Ikigai now. So Ikigai is a Japanese concept, actually, and it's about actually living out your purpose and living your truth and living out what you're here to do. And it has basically 4 quadrants, okay? And those 4 quadrants, if I'm going to speak it really simply, I have a whole container actually about discovering your Ikigai. Though and a whole discovery process of this, because an Ikigai can take decades. Mine took decades. I now lead people through it and they discover it in under 3 months. So instead of taking your whole life to figure out what your purpose is, we collapse time. You go on the biggest journey with me and we discover, and I do that alongside you, what your true Ikigai is. And again, those 4 quadrants, what are you just innately great at? Like, what are your strengths? What can you, even if you had marbles in your mouth and you're upside down, you're having a handstand, and you could still speak about it. You're still the embodiment of it. Like, what are you so great at? And it's your strength. And again, if you're listening to this, take a pause. Take a pause right now and go, oh, people always ask me about health or ask me about motherhood or ask me about whatever. Okay. Take note. Then I want you to look at, what do you love? Like, what do you truly love doing? What do you love doing in your spare time? Okay. And for me, I love the value of life. I love living my life. I love showing people, hey, because I've seen so many things that happen in life that I'm like, hey, does that matter? Like, does it matter if your husband didn't do that thing of like having the gardens done? Like, go out and live your life. Because what if tomorrow he comes into my ED doors and he's dead? Do you know what I mean? Like, there's so many things, right? So again, I want you to look at, like, what do you love doing? Do you love spending time with your babies? Do you love creating? Do you love speaking? Do you love being around people? Again, what do you love doing? Then the other part of the Ikigai is, what does this world need? Like, what does this world, and then again, that may be too big for some. So maybe, what does your community need? Like, what's happening at the moment, and then how can you link that to your past? So if you grew up in a DV home, if you grew up in an alcohol abuse home, if you grew up in trauma, if you grew up in scarcity, if you grew up with SA, as in sexual abuse, if you grew up and experienced some big things, what can you stand on the top of a mountain hill and go, I stand for this. This is it. And I never want someone to experience this. Right? What does the world need? Healing? Is it growth? Is it transformation? Is it knowledge? Is it power? Is it, hey, a story that's going to resonate? So again, invite you to wonder there. Then finally, what can you be remunerated for all of that? So what can you create that allows you to create a purpose-led, heart-led, that's one of our companies, a heart-led business or movement or purpose that allows you to do all of that and have the life that you want. And so here's the thing, to some people, they're like, that's not possible. I've got to work really freaking hard in a job that I hate, that's 9 to 5 till the end. And it means I'm going to sacrifice my family. It's going to mean I hate it. And I got to wait for the weekends to have my best time. I am telling you, with thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people that now we support and lead and guide and have the pleasure and privilege to, that your Ikigai means you get to have it all. And you get to live it all. And you get to the end of your life. Remember, I always talk about get to the end of your life. Live with the end in mind. And you can get to the end of your life and go, whoa, I freaking did it. And I lived out my purpose. And I loved it. And by living out my purpose, I lived my most amazing, freedom, fulfilled, time-free, financial-free, absolute happy life. And that's Ikigai in the shortest way possible, Flic.
I love that. Thank you so much for taking such a huge concept and kind of making it into something a little bit more, I guess, bite-sized for people to start working through. Obviously, if they grab your book, they're going to be able to dive into this a bit further. Working with you, they'll be able to do the same thing as well. But I think it's a beautiful concept for people to understand that, yes, they can actually have it all. It's just understanding that there's a purpose behind it, a heart behind it, and to know that that can be remunerated as well is also something important. So within that, you brought up something that I think is so interesting. And I hear this from so many women that I speak to, particularly those that are looking to create startups or take some kind of entrepreneurial journey for themselves. There's a real concern around wealth and finances. And so my real question for you is, how have you gone from a place of scarcity and then turning it into an area where you are flourishing and you are thriving? And how would you suggest for other women who may have been raised to think that wealth is not for them, how
Yeah.
would you suggest for them to kind of take that journey too?
Yeah. I'm going to allow whoever listening and watching to hear the parts of this that they need to hear, right? Now, you can jump on all the masterclasses, activate all the things when it comes to money. You can learn money literacy, you can learn financial literacy, you can do all the things. Though money and wealth generation and creating that will simply be the byproduct or not. And your emotional, energetic relationship with money comes down to your worthiness of self. So, my question to anyone, or my ponder for anyone, if you are sitting in and you've been in scarcity before, I invite you to wonder and ponder over, what is your relationship with money right now? What beliefs do you have around money? Are any of your beliefs absolutely true? Are they yours, or are they the people before you? And if money is energy, again, what is the relationship you have with it? Now, there are probably some questions that you could write down. If you're watching this, pause it, go back, write them down. When it comes to wealth generation and just again coming out of that mindset and that frequency of broke and poor and I got to work harder and that is where we're operating from here. And we were talking about it earlier about mindset work. And this is why, again, I started with mindset work. Now, when people talk about mindset work, I'm like, well, that's the issue. We're sitting at mindset work. All right. And that's cool. If you've started with mindset work, perfect. Though, if it was just mindset work that got us, that allows us to shift huge things or allows us to create generational wealth or move from, $80,000 a year to multi seven figures a year, the world would be a very different place if it was just mindset, wouldn't it? Because we have mindset available to us everywhere. You could tap into mindset on your phone. You could tap into the 10 steps of mindset on a podcast. Again, if it was mindset, the world would be different. So could we agree? And again, I'm just inviting you to wonder, for those listening, could you be open to the fact that mindset is just one step and then we get to build upon that? So what if the frequency of money is actually the energetic capacity to receive? Now, I'm going to say this bit. Now, receiving is a really interesting concept, especially for women, because women are notoriously so give, 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 give. I'm going to give to you. I'm going to leave myself last. I'm not going to do the thing. Because why? We are taught societally and conditioned as women to just give. We're givers. We are nurturers. And therefore, we've operated from this place outside of us to give. Though, again, whether we like it or not, mothering even is a very masculine role. We're very doing in the giving, right? What if I could invite everyone to wonder that you could actually create massive wealth for yourself if you let go of your masculine and you invited your feminine back into your life? Why? Because the feminine is about receivership. So there is no way many moons ago when I was registered nursing, busting my ass, double shifts, triple shifts, works on the weekend, build a business on the side, also have a full-time career in the military, then go away, then deploy so I can have some more money, still spinning my wheels, still doing all the things, though not getting any further ahead. It was really wild. Having a mortgage and then doing this and then constricting money. Like, just notice if this feels familiar to you. Are you like, yeah, actually, we keep on building the savings and then it's gone. And we build and then it's gone. What if it's an energetic capacity of your inability yet to receive? So for me to go from, and at one point, I had 23x my income from before. So this is a while ago now, though I had 23x'd it. Now, most people would go, so what? Like, most people would go, so Like, did you work 23 times harder? Absolutely fucking not. I did not work 23 times harder. I expanded my capacity to receive. Now, that doesn't mean I stopped being in my masculine, though I started to realize I could receive and I have the worthiness to receive big money. And I started to hugely dismantle the beliefs that I formerly had that my mom and my dad and my grandparents and people around me, the people that I was working with, my colleagues, my friends, that were all talking about money, that money was hard, that money was evil. People don't say that, though. The story behind it, that, you know, people that have got money are this, and like all of these stories. I wonder if you're listening right now or you're watching right now, what are some stories that are running rampant in your head? Because when I look at and view money, and when I look at people in entrepreneurship, and when I look at people doing beautiful things in this world with their wealth, I go, man, I'm here to empower women to become generational wealth builders, because generational wealth builders and women that are building huge empires do the most magical, generous things with that money. What we do with our money as a company is just absolutely beautiful. What we give with our beautiful circulation of money that we get to receive. Why? Because I receive it and I know it's an endless resource. I receive it because it's an abundance. Money is a frequency. And I know for some people, this might be like, though I'm just inquiring and installing, if you're open to it, what money also gets to be, and what money gets to be the vessel and the vehicle for you to go and be. And again, for me, I have literally cornerstoned and drawn a line in the sand that told me that money was hard, that money was going to be something that meant I had to work 23 times harder. Okay. And if you can sit in the practice of, where is my worthiness around money, and am I willing to receive money? And I'm going to take away the money aspect now, which brings me to the third point. Whenever I teach money, it's never actually the money. As I said, it is like your mindset around money is worthiness. So if you take away money and wealth, and if that's what you want and you don't have it now, it's not the money that you want, it's the worthiness that you desire. When you realize that you're worthy of it and you're open to receiving it, it will, not because you're dreaming of it, not because you're manifesting it, because you become the person that start actioning towards it. And then you start making moves that create money to come in. Okay. You stop energetically blocking it. Do you know how many women that I've coached that have gone, oh, I want to do this thing and I had this opportunity, and they absolutely screwed it. Why? Because they closed their heart to receive. Someone was like, hey, yo, you could totally do this thing. And they just went, why? Because they felt that they weren't worthy of that. They weren't ready for that they were too fearful for that. And then the little girl in them went, oh, I can't have that. I can't receive that. So now, whilst I've gone on a huge tangent over here, I want to bring it back to something. It starts with receiving. How do you receive as a woman? How do you receive compliments? Are you someone that goes, oh, no, you look great? How about if you were to start going, thank you. Thank you. I'm learning to receive compliments. So I'm just going to take that on and receive it and really appreciate your compliment. 1, that's receivership. 2, if you're someone that does it all and you're like spinning your wheels and you're complaining that you're doing everything, that you don't let anyone help you, you're blocking off huge money. You're blocking off opportunities. If someone goes, even if it's your husband, okay, look, can I put the kids down to bed? Or can I fold this? Or can I, do this to help out at home? And you're like, no, because you're not going to do it properly. Or no, because it's not going to be my way. It's not going to be perfect. If you're the boss and you're like, nah, that person can't do it, I'll just do it. And you're actually creating an opportunity for someone to not learn. That's you not being able to receive. Okay. So again, allow yourself to go, I get to receive help. So I sit in my feminine so much now. Remember, past version of me was all about my masculine. Feminine goes, yes, I'd love that help. Yep, go ahead and do it. Because guess what? 80% done, even if it's not perfect like you would do it, is complete. And you waiting for something to be 150,000% perfect is stalling you from 1, big money, 2, your purpose. 3, your happiness and joy.
That's so spot on, Nadine. So spot on. I just love what you said about worthiness, that it's actually worthiness that you're looking for. And I think so many women in particular will relate to that because there's so many things that are pitted up against our worth. And we get taught that from such a young age that we do block ourselves. And I think also what you said about receiving. I also had to teach myself how to receive compliments. I couldn't receive them. I would immediately throw them back in the other direction. And
Yep.
that blocked me off from a lot of things. And I think a lot of women do that. I think there's also men that do that as well, depending on how they were raised and what their environment was. But I think that's the real mic drop moment to know that you're not necessarily seeking wealth alone or money alone or whatever it is. You're actually seeking feeling worthy. And you might be blocking yourself actually just from receiving it because that is not just about money, it's about the whole way in which you approach life, right?
Absolutely. Well said. And again, it's for those listening and watching this, just notice your behaviors around money. Notice your behaviors around worthiness. And I wonder if anything that you're hearing today makes you just go, wowza. This is the internal work. This is the identity work. This is the worthiness work. This is the, that's why our retreat's called Rise. It's like rise because these versions and beliefs and ways of being and identities, I had to grieve the identity in the part of me that was scarce minded. I had to grieve and let go of the identity and part of me that was the nurse. I had to let go. Do you know what I mean? Like in order to become the millionaire, I had to let go of the salary nurse earner, didn't I? In order to become the multimillionaire, I had to let go of the millionaire identity, right? In order to become, the part of me that's not about mindset, I had to go, hey, I'm ready for the ascension beyond that, right? Everything requires, and it actually is perfect on the early on part of this conversation of the earlier part of you and any experience that you're experiencing is merely just the stepping stone to the next expansion of self,
Mm.
the next elevation of self.
So, what you're talking about there, because you just touched on something that I think is worth exploring. When we grieve something, a lot of people, I think, associate grief with a finality, something that is completely done for us, and associate it with something that's necessarily, sad. But it's hard for people, I think, sometimes to understand that we also grieve things that simply weren't working for us, and that our identity can be a part of that. That even if there's some parts of it that were kind of okay, but 70% of it is actually really not moving the needle for you. That even in the decision of moving on and changing the road forward for yourself, there is going to be grief that comes with that. And some of that grief is simply just letting go the version of the person that you were before. Can you take us through what that experience has been like for you when you've looked at your identity and said, well, of course, there's some great bits about it, but there's some stuff here that's not working for me. And it's not just flipping a switch and moving on, but there's the grief cycle that has to be processed at the same time as starting the new journey.
Absolutely. I mentioned it before. In order to emerge the woman or the higher self or whatever, the past version of us, and I'm really actually quite vocal about it, must die. And that requires grief. It was a really pivotal moment to grieve the past version of me I had to just firmly let go of because what got me there was never going to get me here. And so what is absolutely beautiful when we guide our women through it is having reverence for that woman and little girl and that past version of you that went, you've done your job to here. Thank you for arriving to here. Thank you for being in scarcity because that scarcity got you to move. Do you know what I mean? Thank you for experiencing what you have, for enduring what you have, though you get to be in completion now. And this is more than, I'm not talking like grieve and then journal and then purge journal and then talk about it. And then I'm talking the somatic grieving process. Like I'm talking, when I say grief, and again, that has multi layers and there's a whole cycle of grief and there's so many layers to grief. I'm talking the sort of grief that you in your body. I remember actually like wailing a past version of me and allowing her to have the biggest exhale to know that she was complete and she was done. So listen to what I just said. and exhale. I saw her shoulders just drop from her ears. Remember, I talked about the backpack of bullshit, the backpack that she just went, I'm complete here. I'm done here. I'm ready to rest. Take over. Here's the baton. Though in this baton is now the wisdoms and the learnings and the teachings of these experiences. Grieve me and then reborn you. And I think again, we are going down routes where it's could be seen as really, spiritual and almost transcendent. Though, guys, I'm telling you, this is the area that when I tapped into this part of me, and all it is a remembering, this is how my life changed. This is how I became who I am today. I had all the business strategies, I had all the things, and nothing got me further than the part of me that emerged when I tapped into my intuition, my internal compass, my wisdom, and my spiritual self. So, then again, I hire and have hired some of the greatest life and business coaches of today. And I have 3 in my corner right now, and they're all abroad. And I have them for so many different reasons. Though nothing has moved my life further than me and the internal part of me that has moved different and that has grieved and has allowed me to feel the experiences that I needed to feel. So I wonder if those listening can really take stock of having all the things and then being all the things.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting place. And like you talked earlier about, Ikigai and that whole process there. It can be a lengthy process to go through. I mean, life is not finite in the sense that we're forever changing and we're forever growing, particularly as well if you allow yourself to do that and you allow yourself to do the work that facilitates that growth. But that's kind of the beauty of it as well, that nothing is set in stone, that it continues to change and evolve, and you get to change and evolve with it, and to guide that to a certain extent. And that sort of makes me think as well. I speak to a lot of women who are in business, as I mentioned before, a lot of women who are at the very start of their startup journey, or they're 5 to 10 years into their entrepreneurship. And very often what I hear them struggle with, or what they say they struggle with the most, is this concept of scaling an empire, but also being true to who they are, to find this, perfect quote unquote work-life balance and trying to do it all and have it all. And I know you mentioned obviously with your Ikigai before that that's part of that purpose and understanding that. But do you think there is some other things that women in business are commonly missing in terms of threads or themes that allow them to feel like they actually can't scale and be authentically who they are at the same time?
Yeah. So women are mask wearing on the most part. A lot of women in business are moving because that's how everybody else is moving. And I always say this, when the world is zigging, start zagging, start differentiating, start separating from what everybody else is doing. I know that that takes really courageous, bold action. Though let me tell you, you can always go back to what the masses are doing if you will. Or if you want to separate and you want to separate boldly, start moving in the ways that other people aren't. Now, again, that takes huge amounts of courage, though nothing in like this life is far too short. And it's like, just shoot the shot, pull the moonshot, send it. Like, again, and I say that from a place of and again, it's knowing that everyone cares what people think. I won't say everyone, because there's a lot of people that we serve that they do not give a single F about what people think anymore. And that's the thing. Like, that's the message. If you take anything away from this, go, where am I caring? And for what purpose am I caring for what other people think? Because if you care about what other people think, then let me tell you, your life is not yours. You are not living it. You are just living outside of it. You are not actually in the arena at all. And that is a trigger point for some or an activation for others. And again, there's a lot of work to do. If you're in a space where just the moves that you make are dependent on others, though, when you step out of that space and when you start moving without the care of others and when you start moving in your own lane, you will quite literally separate from the rest. And it's not to say that you've got to be different or more. It's just, in a sea of, like beautiful brown, black horses, be the white Brumby. Like just you watch what happens when you're brave enough to just stand out. And for most people, it's like, they want to scale, they want to do all the things, but then they're following all the black, beautiful horses. Hear what I said? I'm not saying that it's wrong. And it's beautiful. Though it's beautiful when you're in the pack, though, let me tell you, the magic emerges when you're that white Brumby, just like going, and guess what happens? The white Brumby, running in the wild, starts meeting other Brumbies, and they're like, holy shit, are you doing that too? Let's go. Come along. Like, and this is how this movement was created, because I stopped moving like the masses and I started engaging with people that weren't moving like everybody else. And I started letting go of grieving past versions of me that would call in people that were the same. And so I had to start, to be honest, I want to bring this conversation to this flick, perhaps. I also had to let go of friendships that no longer served the version of me that were growing, that wildly triggered them. I had friendships that that were with me for decades, couldn't deal with who I become. They loved the part of me that was stuck. They loved the part of me that was struggling. Now, I'm not saying that from a place of hurt. I'm saying that from a place of love. Some people, that's just where they are, because what does that do? It puts a mirror of what they're not doing. And so I had to be willing to grieve people in my life, some of them family, and go, I love you that much, but I love myself more. And I love where I'm going and what it means for my immediate family, that I must and I will let you go and grieve you because you are not part of this next chapter. And that hurts. And that's the duality of life.
Perfectly put, perfectly put. And it brings me to this thing that I know you talk a lot about. And I also think this is very intrinsically important too. When you hear that, when your parents maybe have said this to you, listeners at home, I'm sure some of you have heard this. You're hanging around with someone and your parents say, I don't want you hanging around that person anymore. And it's because there's this underlying knowledge, I think, that we all have, that we are a reflection of the group of people that surrounds us. We become what we are exposed to the most, what's reinforced the most in so many ways. And so when you talk about mentorship and the environment around you for that kind of growth journey, as we're looking at from a business lens, from an entrepreneurial growth lens, what does that sort of mean to you? What does mentorship and environment bring up for you?
Simply put, when you are someone that values mentorship and coaching, think about it from a place of an amateur and a professional. An amateur will do it on their own. A professional athlete, a sports player, a prime minister, a president will always have advisors. So the difference between an amateur and a professional, someone going pro, is someone that goes, I mean business about this, and I'm going to hire people that are going to show me the way. Now, the reason why I say amateur versus pro is because people can identify with that like straight away. And it's something that one of my mentors, who's still my mentor today, said to me. And I loved it because it was like, it's such an easy concept to grab. Where are you just like, I'll do it on my own. I'll figure it out along the way. I'll just learn the lessons. That is the longest way to never live out your Ikigai, for your business never to scale, and for you to literally go in circles, because your own mind is going to just make up shit, self-sabotage, and create this story of what it isn't. You will not have the eyes and the lens to look outside of you. You don't have someone to look under the hood of your business and go, what are you doing? Or keep doing that. Or, yo, whoa, slow down. If you go down that road, this will pop up. You've got these two decisions. Like, having an advisory board is the best thing that you will ever do, both personally and professionally. So again, for me, I will never not have mentors, because they are the quickest way to success. So there's buzzwords, and you've noticed that here with me, I talk different, I walk different. I don't really utilize the buzzwords that everyone's using. Now, you would have heard buzzwords like quantum leap, time collapse, right? If you identify with those words, great. And a mentorship will quite literally show you the roadmap, show you the entire suitcase. Notice what I just said: suitcase, then staircase. The reason why I say suitcase is you gotta take some things with you. You've got to be willing to show up. You've got to be willing to have a toolkit ready to go up that staircase. Are you willing to do that? And I'm telling you, we ain't here to do life alone. People that are, at the top of the staircase going, yo, they're sending They're sending information down, being like, just do this. Come up here, I'll show you. And for me, as a mentor myself, and again, coaching and mentoring, very different though. I coach, there's a part of me that coaches, and then there's a part of me when people are ready to have a mentor that's very different. And a mentor does this. They empower someone to make the decisions for themselves. They go, hey, they'll storytell, and a great mentor will never give you the answer. You will be empowered for you to discover the answer for yourself, so that when you arrive at your nirvana and you've created the empire and you've done the thing, you don't go, my mentor did that. You go, I did that. Though I engaged with a board of advisors that showed me the how, they lit up the path, and I walked the path. So again, put mentors in your corner, put coaches in your corner. More than that, though, have an omni web. I talked about it earlier. If you love having a financial advisor, if you love having a, a horse whisperer, I have a spiritual mentor. I have people that literally bring me to places and spaces that remind me of my gifts and my talents and wisdom, so that I can continue to ascend. I have business strategy type mentors. Then I have mentors that guide me, so that, like, I don't want to, one, stay where I am. I love change and growth that much that I'm always looking to grieving, letting go of, creating the version of me that gets to move forward. And that is a beautiful thing to know, that you don't have to do it on your own.
Absolutely. I think so often this concept, I think people have in their head, particularly if we're looking at it from that entrepreneurship lens, there's a concept that we must do it alone. It's almost this badge of honor that I'm the founder or the CEO, and I've worked it all out myself, and I've, bootstrapped it, and I've done everything on my own. But the reality is that is such a pathway to burnout, to feeling completely uncomfortable, to feeling completely unwell. But doing it with people at your side, people that you've very strategically and carefully selected, is just surrounding you with that empowerment and that passion and that energy, and helping you to find the direction to go forward that is so intrinsically your own. So I so appreciate what you've said there, Nadine. And as I said to everyone before, you're so authentic. You are exactly who you are. And I really, really appreciate that. So as we've kind of got to wrap things up, unfortunately, I just wanted to take a moment, of course, to touch on your beautiful book. Now, obviously, you're a 13 times bestseller. It's called A Reason to Rise. And now I know it's really hard to cherry pick one thing from a book, but if I can ask you to, Nadine, can you cherry pick one nugget of wisdom from your book that you would really love for everyone listening today to kind of take home, to resonate with, to sort of think on?
Yeah. Well, one, I'm going to get you, for those listening and watching, to stop thinking. Right? That's one huge thing. Thinking is so, if you're watching this, when you think, it's like down here, and you just have here. When you start moving in place, so I'm like here, it's just here. When you start having wonderment and curiosity, it's like, oh, you have a whole reservoir and ability for it to be so much bigger than you ever imagined. That's the first thing. Allowing your mind to turn off and stop thinking is one thing, though actually allowing yourself to realize how much you're living outside of yourself. So in the book, and this is the message and really the thread throughout the whole thing, is, where are you shooting yourself to death? Oh, I should do this. Oh, I should do that because I'm a mum. Oh, I should not stay up late because that would mean I'm not prioritizing my sleep. And then, no, oh, maybe I do. Where are you shooting yourself to death in every area of your life? And how can you start coming back to yourself and going, no, I'm going to do the things that I want to do, and I'm going to reclaim and take back my beautiful power that you have chosen. I'm going to say that, on the most part, we have chosen to buy into the societal conditioning and paradigm of being like, oh, I've got to be the good mom, I've got to be the good wife, I've got to be the business owner, I've got to be the thing, right? I'm giving you, and when I say I give you, listen to the next part, because where are you giving your permission to other people? I give you your own damn permission that you get to give to yourself, to do and move and act and action with the things that you truly want. Where are you saying yes where you actually mean no? Where have you been doing something over and over and you're like, yeah, okay. Where are you complaining about the time that you don't have, though you're spending it with people that are not even expanding your existence? Where are you saying, oh, Now, if I don't do that, that would mean this, and that would person would think that. No, just start living for you, because especially if you're raising little people, they're watching you. And if you truly, truly, at a core level, at a visceral level, want to impart and leave with your children the tools and resources that they must have in a scary world that we live in a scary world. And if we don't equip our kids with the self mastery that they're going to need to live this world, then it's a worrying place to be. All right. So impart in them the ability to use their voice, the ability to stop living in the should, and notice where your shoulding is passing that down to kids, especially young girls. Especially, again, I'm raising boys, though I see it in boys too. We've just had our men's retreat. Our men's retreat was full of men just being like, I didn't know how. No one taught me how to do that. I can't express because nobody showed me how to express. My dad told me, my mom told me I can't cry. So I've never cried. We saw men literally cry decades of tears that they were told by society that they weren't allowed to express. So where can you stop shooting yourself to death because society told you, or a parent told you, or a friend told you, and start moving the ways that you want? And then finally, I know you said cherry pick, but there's one more. Stop taking advice, insight, or opinion from anyone that is not where you wish to be.
Gosh, that is such a mic drop moment, Nadine. Exactly that. I think so many people will resonate with it. But also, as you said, that takeaway, let's stop shooting ourselves to death. Stop shooting ourselves to death and live the life that we want to live for ourselves. Nadine, thank you so much for spending some time with us on the show today. I am positive so many people have taken away a million mic drops and golden nuggets from that. And I know that they will be able to follow up and buy your book. So again, thank you so much for your time.
Appreciate. And thanks to those listening right to the end. Again, invite you to pause, go back, write down, look at the things that you've written down. There's a lot in there. I said at the start, it's what's taught. It's not always what's taught, it's actually what's caught. It's the golden threads throughout. So be sure to action the things that you have, go into deep self introspect of the things that you have written down. And then instead of just looking at them over and over or putting them back in a drawer that you're never going to open up again, actually take the steps. And I hope that one day it's the last time that you ever say that you're going to undo the things that are on there.
Beautifully said. Everyone tuning in, of course, make sure that you go out and grab Nadine's book. It's called A Reason to Rise. You can't miss it. Look it up on Amazon, grab it, and make sure that you get that pen and paper out, start taking notes, and really get into it, because there's just so much wisdom in this book for now and for anywhere you are in the journey of your life. You can also, of course, go to nadinemuller.com.au and you can look at all of her coaching packages, mentoring, retreats, and of course the Bloom community as well, which is designed to help people go through the pathway together and have that community around them. It's like a one-stop shop for everything to do with your growth and your pathway, and I'm sure that you're going to thoroughly enjoy it. So make sure you do head out there. And of course, thank you for spending some time with me today on the show as well. I really hope that you have been able to find and connect with the humanity and the power that you have inside, and that this has helped you to take those steps towards bringing it out and allowing you to live authentically as the human being you were always meant to be. Thank you so much, and I look forward to joining you next time on the show.